like to call to order the meeting, the November 28th meeting of the Shelby Township Planning Commission. Madam Secretary, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, Commissioner Dallo.
Here.
Commissioner DeSico.
Here.
Commissioner Bernardi is absent. Commissioner Moore is absent. Commissioner Wozniak.
Here.
Commissioner Apone.
Here.
Commissioner Turner.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Great, thank you. First item is approval of the agenda.
So move.
Moved by
Support.
Turner, support by DeSico. All in favor?
Aye.
Next item is approval of the minutes from the November 14th meeting.
So move.
Moved by
Support.
DeSico, support by Apone. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, this evening we have two items of correspondence to address. First, a letter from Sterling Heights regarding their master plan update. Mr. Wynn,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We received the,
prior to, you have an introduction maybe?
yes, I wanted to introduce Scott Aliff, our new associate planner. He's replacing Jordan Greenman. He started today, and we wanted to welcome him and look forward to a long relationship.
Great, welcome.
We have the customary notice from our adjoining community, Sterling Heights, regarding their draft master plan. It's a state law requirement that they notify all surrounding communities. Since we share that common boundary on Hall Road, that boundary is from Hayes to Shaner and then west of the city of Utica to DeQuinder. And there's really no adjacent land uses that are really in conflict with ours. You have the lakeside development south of our sort of regional commercial on Hall Road. And then along M59, the freeway sort of divides our two communities. And that freeway right-of-way at a minimum is 350 feet. So there really are no adjacent land uses that we would think would be in conflict with our planning or zoning. So the recommendation would be to support the adoption of their plan and send them a letter to that effect.
Okay, are there any questions for the planner? Hearing none, I entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Pone.
I support the adoption of the City of Sterling Heights master plan.
Support. Moved by Apone, support by Turner. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none, Mr. Pone.
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Mr. Wozniak? Yes. Mr. Dalu?
Yes.
Ms. DeSico?
Yes.
Ms. Casali?
Yes.
Chair votes yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The second correspondence is a piece of communication from Anthony Rubino, who's a local real estate broker with Pilot Properties, regarding the reoccupancy of a 20,000 square foot building on South Van Dyke, which is south of 21 Mile Road on the east side, for Habitat of Humanity store. The site is an acre and a half, and it's been vacant for some time. You'll see Mr. Rubino did provide a detailed summary of the occupancy of that building in recent years. The last major tenant was Great Lakes Hobby Store, which was kind of a retail shop. And if we would allow home furnishing store, which this comes closest to, we'd only allow them up to a scale of 2,400 square feet, because all the C1 uses are capped in terms of square footage, so they maintain a certain scale. The problem is this building is really a small box. It doesn't lend itself to being carved up like your normal retail strip center. It really invites a single user. So the ordinance, when we put those limitations on for square footage, gave us some opportunities to modify those. The first would be, let's say somebody came in for a home furnishing shop, which is 2,500 square feet. The ordinance gives me the flexibility to approve that administratively, and I typically would do that. Or in some occasions, if it's a little bit larger, I would consult with the chairman, and we determine if we felt comfortable enough with that use, and it's still approve it administratively. The third option was go through a special land use process, which is a little more lengthy, a public notification of everybody within 300 feet, a newspaper advertisement, a submission of a site plan. So those are the three main options. Given that this building has been vacant for so long, kind of putting on our economic development hat, we certainly want to see it occupied with a use that would fit there on a long-term basis, that would not be detrimental to the neighbors on those two abutting streets. So I invited Mr. Rubino to come in with his client, maybe have a little conversation with the Planning Commission to see if you would be comfortable authorizing me to approve that administratively. And I know Mr. Rubino has a representative from Habitat here tonight, so it might be useful to have them make a little presentation, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
This is one of those situations where we talk to people at the counter on a regular basis, but we don't have the opportunity to extend that conversation to the commission. We wanted to make sure you had that opportunity to talk to them as well.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Anthony Rubino. I'm with Pilot Property Group. I also have along here Helen Hicks. She's the.
Could I get your addresses, both of you?
Our address is 8344 Hall Road in Utica.
Okay.
And our address is 130 North Groesbeck in Mount Clemens.
Okay, thank you.
Habitat is currently looking to occupy the building at 46660 Van Dyke. They will look to occupy the entire building. It'll be utilized for both a restore aspect and kind of some main office uses, including some storage and other uses. Macomb Habitat's been around for over 40 years. They help partner families get back on their feet through low construction financing and some other availabilities to help the community out. They participate in the community greatly, and they recently were a recipient from Shelby Township for a $20,000 grant to help some partner veteran families out as well. We sat and met with Glenn and talked about the possibilities at the Van Dyke building that has had similar uses throughout the past and currently has sat vacant for about 8 years. So we have a meeting of the minds with the current owner and are looking to kind of proceed forward with your approval tonight.
Okay. Do the folks from Habitat have any experience with this type of resale operation?
Yes, we currently have 2 stores,
Okay.
and we've been very successful in our operation.
Now, where are they located?
One is located in Mount Clemens, and one is located in Warren, southern Warren.
What are the approximate sizes of those?
One is 7,000 square foot, and the other is 50,000 square foot. We've
Fif-
sold the 50,000 square foot building, and we're hoping to move into this a little bit smaller size building.
Okay,
Your
so
building.
you're fairly comfortable that you could adequately fully use the 19,000?
Absolutely.
How about maintaining, any construction materials or any of that sort of thing on this site?
The only materials we currently have on site, that we always use for our construction is our tools, that sort of thing, but we don't house any wood or anything like that. That always goes from the store directly to the work site. So there's no, nothing like that.
There's actually no construction that happens on the actual premises of Van Dyke.
Well, and I kind of get the concept, but
Yeah.
more is, okay, what are you going to have in the building? Is it just going to be a resale?
I
Now, you're
would
saying you
say-
have your administrative offices?
We will have an office there, and we will also have mostly restore. There will be a small area to store the tools,
Okay.
and that's it.
In the restore, I included kind of what their product list consists of. When you hear restore, it's not your typical Salvation Army. It includes appliances, cabinets, doors, flooring, furniture, hardware. So it's more of a home furnishings type restore. It won't have the typical smaller scale items.
Or clothing or anything like that. No clothing.
Okay. Any questions from the,
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Turner?
I certainly support what Habitat for Humanity does, and I would like to see the building repurposed. I just have some concerns about the size and the scope. It is, did you mention what the size of your other 2 buildings are in Warren and Mount Clemens? I may have missed that. What were they?
One is 50,000 square feet, but it was used for all of our offices at the time. Our offices are now at Baker College, so we don't need a building that big.
Okay, because I drive around the area every day, and this may be not like a Salvation Army, but it's kind of like an enhanced Salvation Army that for building supplies for people, for low-income families, right, for to build their homes?
No, it's actually for people, mostly like the people in this room that like to shop and get things like for their cabins and cottages up north. But some of the furniture, of course, people can come in and shop, for those types of things for their home. So it's kind of a combination of both.
The concerns I have are relative to where the building stands on the property. Your Warren location at 9 and Van Dyke doesn't have homes that are directly abut the building. They're about, 300-400 feet back. Your Mount Clemens facility is more or less in an industrial section on Groesbeck, correct?
It's both. It's industrial and homes.
There's no homes, though, that are directly abutting as there are here, because they're right on, literally this one, they're right on the other side of the building and the wall.
Which is one of the reasons why we've decided, if we are allowed to use this building as such, that we would not have the drop-off on either side. It would be directly in front.
Because I did notice there were doors on north and south that could be loading docks also. You're planning on loading on the west side by Van Dyke, right?
The west-facing side. Correct.
By Van Dyke,
Yes.
correct?
Correct.
I don't know, I just, as far as administrative versus special land use, I think personally speaking, I hate to disagree with Mr. Nguyen, I respect his opinion, but I would like to see it go to a special land use simply because the size of the building, it's not a similar use to what has been there. And I think the residents in the area who may have concerns, it may not have any impact. They may not have any concerns. But I think they should be given the right to voice whatever concerns they may have. So that's my feeling on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Turner. You know, I tend to agree. I can see this being a decent fit, a good fit. And I've had a conversation earlier today with Mr. Nguyen just to concur that our experience with the Salvation Army at 2023 in Van Dyke has been a positive one. So it's not like that. But I think just the size and scope, I think we'd be better served just understanding kind of how that's flushed out. And I think the neighbors deserve the right to know exactly what, because this is a little different. This is a little unique than the standard resale. So while I'm not against this, I think maybe, you know, a further process would benefit the community, and I would concur with my colleague. Mr. Daly, you had a question.
Yes, I do have a question. Mr. Rubino, is the property purchased already or is leased?
So the property is currently owned and would be purchased by Macomb Habitat.
So it's going to be purchased by
Correct.
the,
Correct. It'd be a sale. It would not be a lease.
so they're going to vacate one of the existing property that they have, and they planning to move to this location.
Correct. We're currently marketing and have under contract their Mount Clemens facility, the 48,000 square foot facility. So we currently have that, and that location would relocate to the Shelby Township location. It would not stay in existence.
And that actually, Mr. Chairman, that put me in a position that I know they're going to put their effort here. They're going to maintain it a lot better than what it is right now presently. So that's my opinion to that.
Mr. Nguyen.
Certainly, I welcome those comments, Mr. Turner. I welcome those disagreements because I think that's why we brought it here, to hear those comments. And I don't object to the public hearing process. I even spoke to Mr. Rubino about it. It's not overly burdensome. I wouldn't think in this case we'd need a site plan, though, since the site's already there. But I think the process is useful for two reasons. Number one, to give notice to people around it, and maybe to establish some conditions like hours of operation and where the loading's going to be. So in case there's problems, we can work through those. Mm-hmm. You know, going through special land use is not punitive. We can make it pretty straightforward and pretty efficient. So I don't have any objection with that.
I think there is one item with the site plan in terms of like outdoor storage. So I think how it operates, that information would need to be included in some.
And we can work through those items maybe ahead of time, so when it comes in, they could address all of those things. That's kind of the purpose of this meeting, was to flesh through some of those ideas and see what we want to address. So I'd be happy. I've worked with Anthony many times, and we'd be happy to sit down with you and your client to work through some of these things as part of your application.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Turner.
Maybe not a specific site plan, but I would like to see something that shows how this whole project is going to work as far as the donation section, the traffic flow in there and related to the restore, just so we have a little more comfort level on how it's going to all work during the public hearing. I think that would be helpful.
Definitely. We can kind of put together a store plan or a building plan showing, you know, which aspects of the building will be utilized for what portions, so that we have a good feel of what's going to happen.
I would just add one thing. Most of our donations, we pick up. We have a truck that's on the road all the time. That's how we get our donations, because most of our donations are big. People can't generally put tables and chairs and things like that into their vehicle, So that's one of the biggest parts of our business, is going out and picking that up and then bringing it in and displaying it in the store. I think some of the other places have, like a lot of people coming in and dropping off, and we have very little of that. I mean, we have some of that, especially during the holidays. People tend to clean out all their kitchen cupboards and come to us with every dish, that Grandma gave them. But for the most part, our donations are picked up.
And that's where a concept drawing of some sort would help.
Sure.
Because if you don't have long lines, that's great. If you do have some long lines, where are the traffic going to stack? That would be helpful.
No problem.
Okay. The game plan.
Okay.
Great.
Very
Thank you.
good. Thank you.
Mr. Rubino, and could you please sign in on the paper?
Oh,
Name and
yeah.
address. Thank you.
Okay, this evening, next, we have two site plans to review. The first, a final review of Site Plan 16-37, Mike Magnoli, if he or a representative is here. Mr. Nguyen, you want to kind of tee this one off, please?
As Mr. Keller's coming up, let me explain. This is for a single-family development, and you may have recalled seeing this before. This particular development, the approval occurs in 2 steps. The first step was preliminary approval, where we evaluate the site plan for conformance with zoning requirements, subdivision restrictions, and subdivision standards. And then after we've done that initial approval, they're authorized to proceed to engineering. Well, they'll prepare detailed engineering plans for drainage, for utility placement, and get their approvals from not only the township, but whatever other county or state agencies have some applicability. And after we verify that the design is the same and they have all those approvals, then we grant approval, the final approval, and they're allowed to proceed to construction. So that's kind of the backdrop here. And then I'll offer some comments on the specific site plan when they're done.
Okay.
Evening, Tom Kellogg, Laner Associates, 17001 19 Mile Road, Clinton Township.
Okay.
Basically, we're here seeking the final approval. We've gone through preliminary approval, made some adjustments way back regarding the road configuration, going into a cul-de-sac instead of a through road. And then we've made the adjustments from the planning comments for during preliminary approval.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for the petitioner's representative? Okay. Mr. Witten?
Just a couple of comments. You don't have an engineer review letter here because engineering's been approved. We did provide you copies of all the applicable other agency comments. There were 2 issues that we had from a planning standpoint. One was the length of the cul-de-sac, which is 50 feet longer than it ought to be, and they use a lot averaging. Both of those have to be approved by the township board, and that'll be on the next board agenda. But interesting, the average lot size here is 18,000 square feet, which is 4,000 square feet larger than what's required. Then there's a national wetlands inventory indicated perhaps some presence of wetlands. We just need verification if there are or not. Otherwise, they've satisfied all the requirements. You may recall at the last meeting, Mr. Chairman, there were some concerns about, I think, along the eastern property line where it abuts a couple of homes in Heatherwood Estates, making sure that they've provided some additional landscaping and minimized the tree removal. And we did provide notice to everybody that attended that last meeting and spoke for this night's meeting as well.
Okay.
As a courtesy, so everybody knew what was going on in terms of this timing of this development.
Okay. Thank you. Now, this isn't a public hearing. We accomplished that previously, but if there's someone here that wishes to be heard on this issue, I'll entertain. Yeah, come on up. I need your name and address.
Okay, it's Jim Mason, M-A-S-O-N. I'm at 8616, drive right there at the dead end.
Mm-hmm.
So, I say you can't fight City Hall, but I just want to present, again, about to go on an open letter. I want the commission to be able to read this. I personally wrote it.
The board did receive a copy of your
Did you
letter.
read it?
It was written in September, I believe. It was included in our packet.
Okay,
So,
so people remember what was written in there.
Mm-hmm.
For 25 years, this sub is about 1991, the dead end. At first, I talked to my neighbors. I came from 25 years from Livonia, wanted to get the dream of the homes. Of course, the greed takes over. The lady, whoever, the old grandma who owned the property, either died or moved on, sold to the kids. Kids sold it for a pile of cash. Whew, they're gone, and the new guy's there. He knew of it. We didn't know of it. We spent every last dollar we had on the mortgage on this home. Came from a cheaper home out to Shelby to spend my hard-earned money and live in Shelby. And my wife said, well, we spent top dollar on the dang home, but at least it's a beautiful private dead-end cul-de-sac. We're told by everybody can never build a road through there because of gas, utilities, this and that. So then I come down here and talked to Mr. Wynn, showed me that plan right there. Said, oh, Jim, you should have known. Of course, when there's a dead block or whatever they call it, of course they can extend it. Well, I just want you to know that it's caused a lot of grief in my marriage, which is, we're not psychological doctors here, but if it was your home, you'd be highly upset. And I was told that it was going to be a through, and then the people complained they got a cul-de-sac, which means, on the back of my letter, there's a roadway right next to enter, to make your subdivision, and it would be a really nice tree-line road, and there's one homeowner affected versus 6 people on Deanna Court. After 25 years, now got 30 cars coming through, and ripping out some beautiful trees. So I just wanted it to be known. If it was you, I think you would all be, highly upset.
It is unfortunate that you were told some bad information.
Well, I mean, I can't stop. Is there any, what is the reasoning to make Deanna go through when it can impact just one home? The road, it's already like a lane there. I think it would be a lot more cost effective to put a road in there, but you can tell I'm nervous. But
Yeah.
anyways, my marriage blows up because of it, guys, and it's not your fault. I know you'll say, too bad, so sad, but it's a shame that we were told that because of gas lines. We're stupid. We believed it. We'll never build on the dead end. So, okay, that's it. I'm done.
Okay. Is there anyone else? All right, thank you. If there's no other questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Rapone.
I move to approve the final condominium plan for Deanna Court condominiums, number 16-37, subject to submission of a revised plan addressing all applicable department comments.
Support.
And that was Mr. Turner's support? Yes. Okay. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none, Mr. Pone?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Mr. Wozniak?
Yes.
Mr. Dalu?
Yes.
Ms. DeSico?
Yes.
Mrs. Casali?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Okay, next we have a public hearing on rezoning petition number 10-16. Would you ask the secretary to read the publication as published?
Yes, the Charter Township of Shelby notice of public hearing. Notice is hereby given that the Planning Commission for the Charter Township of Shelby, Macomb County, Michigan, has received a request for approval of the following amendment to the zoning map. The applicant, Fadi Siman, West Utica Ryan Properties, LLC, 1400 Extel Drive, Unit A, Troy, Michigan, 48084. The rezoning request from R1B, one family residential, to C2 linear retail business and R12 multifamily low-rise. The location is vacant land located at the northwest corner of West Utica Road and Ryan Road. Sidwell number 23-07-31-426-009. The legal description is as follows. The Planning Commission will meet on Monday, November 28th, 2016 at 7 p.m. in the Shelby Municipal Building, 52700 Van Dyke, Shelby Township, Michigan, for the purpose of holding a public hearing on the rezoning application. The application for rezoning, zoning ordinance text, and zoning map may be examined at the Planning and Zoning Department in the Municipal Building Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 5 p.m. Written comments may be submitted to the Planning Commission at the above address prior to the hearing. Oral comments will be heard during the public hearing. This notice is provided pursuant to the requirements of the Michigan Public Act 110 of 2006 as amended. Shelby Township Planning Commission, Jerome Moffitt, Chair, Raquel Morris, Secretary. Published November 13th, 2016. 89 property owners, 3 applicants, and 9 utilities were notified by first-class mail on November 10th, 2016.
Thank you. Mr. Kirk, did the publication meet all legal requirements?
Yes, it did.
All right, thank you. Madam Secretary, did we receive any correspondence regarding this rezoning?
Yes, we did receive 3 letters via email or delivery to the counter, one by Mr. Ranger, one by Ms. Knight, and one by Mr. Ponessa, and they're all in opposition to having a commercial development at that location.
Okay, thank you. All right, the format for the public hearing will be as follows. I'll call the petitioner or the representative off to give the reasons for the rezoning. I'll then ask, the commissioners will then be allowed to ask any questions. The floor will then be open to the public to offer any comments or ask any questions. I'll take all those questions and comments, then ask the petitioner to come back up and answer as best as they can. At this point, call on the petitioner.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Phil Ruggieri, 43231 Shaner, Sterling Heights, 48313. I'm here on behalf of the clients and the petitioners. I have Fadi and his father, Saman, and we have Ray Kasmika. They are the principals of West Utica Ryan, LLC. I brought the presentation of different aspects of this property. As you can see on the far left is the aerial view of the property. It's been vacant for several years. This is the northwest corner of West Utica and Ryan. This area has to the north is a single-family home, and there's R1B. To the west is a condominium development, Eagle Creek Condominiums. To the south, I believe it's a variety of wetlands and still R1B. The east is a variety of multiple developments consisting of apartments, duplexes, etc. And the far southeast corner is a senior complex. Now, in that area itself, if you look to the bottom multiple diagram, it shows there are over 3,000 units of multiple product that is in this particular area. That's an enormous concentration for that particular quadrant of Shelby Township. What we have done is looked at the history of this property. About 10 years ago, if you look to the middle diagram, there was a proposal by the petitioner at that time in 2006 to place a 7-Eleven with a gas station and then have a commercial strip center to the north. They had sought to obtain C2 zoning for that entire parcel. When I first came across this property from the seller, Mr. Balak, my first impression was that that's a tremendous amount of commercial to ask for that particular corner. And we sat down and did some land use planning and came up with a concept that if we cut that commercial directly in half, eliminate the strip center to the north, and concentrate on the true corner, and then try to come up with a buffer that would make sense between the R1B existing to the north and the commercial that we propose. The commercial itself, to me, would be very dysfunctional. It would only attract mom and pop type tenants, probably be vacant on a variety of occasions. It certainly wouldn't be a major factor that would be beneficial to the residents. We have proposed in that section to create the buffer is to use R12, which fits in the zoning characteristics of the area, and to provide an adequate buffer to the commercial component to the south. What we're proposing is a center similar to a 7-Eleven, but much better in decor and design. It would be a gas station with a convenience center attached to the south, and we had proposed a facility for a 3-stall oil and lube change just to the north. And then beyond that would be all the multiple product that we would provide. If you look at the bottom right, you'll see the proposed site plan. It's our concept plan, basically highlighting the greenery that we would propose surrounding the area and how the components would fit onto that site. And to the far right is the 3 parcels how we're designating for these particular uses. Now, by knocking out more than approximately half of the property away from the commercial component, we feel that this particular product will provide a nice, well-planned design for that particular area. If you can see from 2006, the aerial view has not changed, which means nothing is going to get developed in that particular area. The R1B is dead for that corner, even though that's a designation, that's the master land use plan. It's not going to happen. You're not going to put a row of houses along facing Ryan Road just because it's an R1B. And you've already seen in the past with Eagle Creek, that was a contested lawsuit involving the R1B's designation ended up being a consent judgment for multiple housing. And my clients are Ramsey and Fadi had purchased property further north. If you'll recall, we rezoned to R12, multiple housing, just on the east side of Van Dyke, and that's what they're in the initial stages of getting ready for that product. So these are people that are serious buyers and have serious interest in the area. They're not just, they are from our area, they're from Sterling Heights, but they are buying and developing several very nice products. They intend to put a first-class type development with proper elevations of a variety of brick and accent features to make this a very, very nice and attractive development. You have a similar concept, but not quite as nice as what's proposed on 22 and Hayes, which is 7-Eleven with a gas station on the northwest corner. Now, that does very well. It's a very attractive site. It's well utilized by the residents in the area. I've been there myself just on Friday. This concept is much more attractive. It has much more of a residential character with a lot of brick, and we've got a design that we've entertained with our architect, who is Joe Vaglica, who's from Shelby Township. We looked at a product that he put out in Novi, Michigan, which is an excellent facility. I had brought it to Glenn's attention, and he liked the schematics of it. However, he certainly wants to entertain, what our aspects are towards the rest of the development. You'll find that would be a nice blended feature into our development, so it's not sticking out like it's just strictly commercial. It's got a nice mixed appeal to it from an architectural standpoint. As I've indicated, the property just will not be developed. Mr. Balog's had this property a better part of 25 years, I'd say at least. He's paid taxes on that property. It's just going nowhere. Being a resident of Shelby Township, I take pride in bringing good product to our community, and sitting down, discussing the matter with the planning department, talking to our architect, talking to Ed and the clients, we came up with this concept. We have people that are virtually, we have over 5 different operators that want to come into this site. It's a very attractive site. It'll fulfill a very good need for the community. Having something along that lines of a 7-Eleven, it provides convenience items that these people in the area can get to at a rather easy basis. Certainly gas is a necessity for the people. And if you've got that many multiple tenants in that area, you're always going to need gas, because those people are going to work every day and coming home. So you can catch them in that particular area. We have a traffic study that's been done, and the traffic study supports this type of development. So we have no interference with the existing pattern of traffic that goes on in the area. We have some concept plans. We haven't quite narrowed it down, but that's something we think for the future. If this board is gracious enough to go this step, we would provide you an ample amount of site plan and proposals for elevations and landscaping plan to make sure that we would make the residents comfortable in what would go in that site. As I've indicated, you're looking about half of that property, which is 2.9 acres. Just about half of it would be used for the commercial, and the rest would be the multiple. And I think that we can blend that in very well together, which would have minimal impact to the neighbors. We will control, the lighting and things of that nature, so that's not a distraction and not a problem. And I want to point out that to the west, with the Eagle Creek Condominium Association, those buildings are significantly far away from what this product would provide. And we have a conservation easement that we had signed when we did the consent judgment for, about 40-some acres that are to the west and north, would be pretty much abutting where the multiple would be. So you have nothing buildable in that area. You're still preserving a lot of the greenery that's in the area. We've had our wetland review of the property. We had soil borings done. We had a survey done. We're ready to go on the site. The property does not have wetlands. It's been cleared from the DEQ. And the only step left is to entice our board to look at this product and see if this is something that's open to the township so that we can proceed. And we've attached our purchase agreement to the application. It indicates our terms and conditions, and we are in our due diligence period. We've spent a lot of money at this point to get to this stage, and we will do more if we're allowed to proceed. So I'm here to answer any questions you might have. I do have my clients, and they're willing to give any assistance that you may have as far as any inquiry. Thank you very much.
Okay, hang on. I think, questions from the board. So this item that you passed out
Oh.
when you walked up, hang on.
Oh, I wanted, yes.
All right, this was a plan that had been submitted now that you were negotiating against. Had that ever been approved?
No, that plan
So
was.
You're negotiating against something that's not even on the table.
Yeah, no,
You're
let
saying
me
that what
point.
you're proposing is better than this, and this actually has no merit, right?
Yes, that's correct. I wanted to point out, that's the larger version of it. That, I highlighted in yellow, shows that was a commercial strip center on the northern portion of the property.
But prior boards had denied this, right?
Oh, absolutely.
All right,
I wanted to.
So this is frankly,
Yeah, it points out that that person came up with a very, very aggressive plan. And I took that same plan, looking at it, said, well, the concept makes some sense to some degree, but you have too much commercial. If you eliminate the commercial, provide a buffer between the commercial and the R1B to the north, which is, there's one home, you've got a nice blend, a good land use plan mix. That plan was just far too aggressive. And if you look at, I put a line across there in yellow, it indicates that that portion is all multiple. That's no longer a consideration for a C2. That's what I wanted to point out.
right.
So, and I think that was the biggest problem with that denial, was not only a concept of commercial 10 years ago, but it's also way too much commercial. And I think at this point, if you can put a good mix together, a good combination of the commercial and the multiple, you'll eliminate some of the problems and impact considerations that residents would probably be confronted with. And I think you're providing a great need for the area.
Did you do any kind of market study to show that there's a demand for
Yes,
that kind of?
we've had some research done on a preliminary basis.
That's not met at Auburn and Ryan, that's not met at West Utica and DeQuinder, or at West Utica and Mound. So those.
Yeah, they're
services.
significantly away from this particular site. You've got Auburn Corridor, you've got Rochester Road, you've got Mound Road. They're significantly away that this can stand on its own. And you've got enough bodies and cars and density to support this particular product. That's why it's not something that's going to be a destination. It's enough to really allow for the neighbors themselves in the area. They'll certainly gravitate to that, especially the corner, the convenience center, and the gas is going to be an important factor for them. It'll provide a tremendous convenience item for them. The multiple speaks for itself. It's going to fit right into the existing trend that you have in that particular area. Fadi and his father Ramsey have a very nice design, very much complementary to what they have further down the road for the complex that we've already rezoned. So, they're going to be neighbors in the community. They certainly want to have, that's another 72 units, by the way, that's going to be added to this area. They would certainly want to have something that's attractive for their tenants and for the new tenants that they're going to create, and for all the existing tenants and people that live in the multiple conduits in the area. So,
Okay. To the board, questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Turner.
Mr. Ruggieri, you made a good presentation, but I have to be honest with you. When I first saw this on the agenda, I just shook my head and said, here we go again. We're taking residential property, going to C2 and R12 apartments. Now, the commercial, I don't believe, unless I can be persuaded, I don't think the commercial would fit very well in that area, because you have Auburn Road, a commercial corridor. This seems like it's off the beaten path. That's one point. The second point is the residential. More R12 apartments going in this section of our township. I drive on Ryan Road, and I can tell you from West Utica to Auburn, it's a gridlock many days. And if you get some bad weather or an accident, forget it, you're going nowhere. Your client had a piece of property come in a couple of months ago, and you referenced it, on the east side where you wanted to put in more R12 apartments.
yes.
I opposed it. And I said, the logic at the time was, we should, since we have multiple to the east, let's continue the multiple to the west up to Ryan Road, simplify the zoning map. At that meeting, I asked you specifically, what's going to happen on the northwest corner of Ryan and West Utica, because it was for sale. So we're going to have a developer come in, say, well, there's apartments across the street, let's put apartments over here to simplify the zoning map. I had no idea it would be the same developer that would come in to do it, but I did make that point. I think the case can be made, this part of our township in this area specifically is overbuilt and consumed by multiple apartments. The traffic study, I don't know if it did or not, but I don't know if it included the new commercial, the multiple property you're putting on the east side. Now, to that, you're adding 72 more units. I do agree with you that the R1B zoning in this area is dead. I don't think you're going to get any single-family R1B homes there. However, I don't see the need for more apartments in this area. I think something could be done. Some other kind of creative residential property could be put there, maybe unifying this as one big residential piece and coming up with something that would blend better with what's to the west and not add to what's already over on the east side.
Well, no disrespect, but I can tell you I've consulted with some very strong professionals, and you're not going to see any single-family homes whatsoever,
Right.
not in our lifetime.
Right.
You've already got, in the back, it's already been tested where you had R1B, they end up in a lawsuit, and they got a consent judgment. That's already Eagle Creek condominiums. That's all multiple. There's only one house that abuts this property to the north, and that house, they want to sell that house. They don't even want to be there anymore. So that whole strip is no longer going to have any R1B characteristic. It's
I'm not suggesting R1B. However, it seems like what we're having is, since I've been on the commission now for the last 3 years, it seems like the default zoning pattern is when you have residential property that you want to infill it, just go to R12 and let's build apartments.
Well, I'll make this compromise, if I may. The key to this whole development is the corner, the commercial, the C2, okay? Those two components are very vital for our consummating this transaction and developing this property. We are wide open to the type of residential use, and it have to be some type of multiple to the north, whether it's duplexes, whether it's some form of a lesser R zoning for multiple, maybe R8, something along that lines. We're open to that. The reason we have it designated or asked for the R12 is because we need some density there to make it practical, but we wanted to create the buffer. You have to have a buffer between the commercial and the R1B. So having that particular designation for multiple is the perfect buffer. I've seen it in my 36 years as an attorney. It's a great buffer between office, between commercial and residential. It's a good use. I just did it on 21 Mile and Shaner. Between the residential and the office there, we put those condos. There's 22 unit condos right on the northeast corner. And that's a perfect buffer. It always works. It keeps a nice calmness between the single-family homes and any office or commercial. So we're open to that. If you want us to explore a different product, you can rest assured I will explore that, and we'll entertain that. That's not the primary consideration. We only have it under R12 because we think that is a good product to have in between. But we're not locked into that. If you feel something along a pure residential duplex type facility, we're open to that. I can certainly talk to my clients about it, because that is one concept that we did look at. But you have to consider the cost of the property, what's going to have to go in there. It's got to make sense. But we will consider other products for that so that we have a good blend and you don't have this bombardment of multiple that seems to permeate this particular area. However, that's just the way that this whole quadrant has developed. It's not by design. It's just a matter of what the marketplace has created. And you can see that today, apartments are very, very strong. I have properties in other cities that I'm developing. I declined to continue with the senior home complex in Auburn Hills. I'm doing a 153-unit apartment complex because the demand is just astronomical. Today, the millennials and the younger people, even the older people, they don't want to have these big homes anymore or have the problems with homes. They want to live in an apartment, and a nice apartment, mind you. And if you provide the product, they'll stay in the area, but they don't want to have to be tied down to a home. That's the going trend. We're getting away from our residential homes. We're getting more into rentals. It's just the wave of our future. And, it's not going to change. You're not going to see that happening. And in this area, if we tastefully develop this corner, we can capture what your concerns are and yet provide a convenience. And when you mention about gridlock, that's the reason this property could use something like this, because you got cars coming up and down this particular area. There's a lot of cars, but they can stop in here, they can get gas. I mean, that's an attraction for any retail, is by the number of cars that come in. But we're not going to add anything to the traffic. It's very minimal. And our traffic engineer, Carlos Santia, has considered that other development, because we are the same people. So it's going to have minimal impact on your road system for the area. Sorry, I was a little long on my answer
Oh,
there.
that's fine. I was a little long too, but you referenced 22 in Hayes, and I do know what you're talking about. But that area can handle a heck of a lot more traffic than this intersection can. And I am just concerned if you have the commercial on the corner, which is out of scale, out of character with the area, and that doesn't work, we're going to be left with vacant buildings there that are not going to be any good. And I'll say it at this meeting too. Whatever we do on the northwest corner is going to be reflected, mirrored on the southwest corner. Just like I talked about at the last meeting, what's going to go in northwest, something's going to happen on the southwest corner. And if we put apartment multiples here or commercial here, it's going to be mirrored on the other side so we can simplify the zoning map and make it symmetrical. That's just, I have some concerns.
Well, Mr. Turner, the problem is no one's jumping up and down to develop this property. It's been dead for a long time, and Mr. Balak is unfortunately carrying this property for a long period of time with a lot of expense, and there's very little opportunity to develop this property. This is probably the only product that makes sense, and it's not just me proponing it. It's people that have looked at it that are experts in it, and this is the concept plan that we've come up with, and in view of what resistance happened 10 years ago. Obviously, it's way too much commercial, like I've indicated earlier. This is a good blend. It's not going to cause a disaster in that corner. And by the mere fact that we have several people inquiring on it shows there's a substantial success factor that they envision on this corner. So it's not going to be a vacant building. It's going to be a very attractive building, and it's going to do very well in that area. Now, you've got Auburn Road to the north. That's a mishmash of development. You've got to put a lot of money to make that stuff come back to life. There's some nice buildings, and there's some really bad buildings over there. That corridor, it needs a facelift. Now, here you're going to get a brand-new building. People will be more inclined in that area to say, well, this is a great spot for us. It's our little community center. They'll go there, okay? And until they put dollars and cents in some of the Auburn Road property, people aren't going to go there. It turns people off.
Well, people do go there. I know that for a fact. But since you have agreed to come up with some other kind of a concept for the area, I would be willing to see what you come up with. But again, I'm not sold on the commercial on the corner. Thank you.
Okay.
You know what, Mr. Dallin?
Mr. Chairman, I kind of agree with Mr. Turner. There's a lot of condominium, but it seems like everything, that's my commute area in there. And with all of these multiple that they there, the traffic flow is just smooth. I never had a problem. I go there in the morning, come in the afternoon through that traffic, and the multiple, it has just a smooth commute in that area. And I can't see, which I agree also with Mr. Turner, a single resident that is going to go and build there. To address that commercial piece, I had a short conversation with Mr. Wynn that I wanted to do that in the south west corner. As the apartments are all there, all these people need a place that they might need to walk to or drive 1 minute to instead of going for 15, 20 minutes right. So it merged with all of these apartments that they there, and I think it will be a perfect use in there because and I really appreciate Mr. Ruggeri's honesty that he could have just come and say, I want to zone a C2, and then he'll bring us whatever he's going to bring us. He's telling us the full concept, and I personally appreciated that he came up in the fact open to his project. And I think that place there will work a lot better where we're mentioning Auburn and Ryan. Because Auburn and Ryan, yeah, we do have a gas station. It's not a complete gas station. You just go pump gas and leave. You go across the street, it's different. You go buy whatever else you need. And each corner has different use. Here is going to be a multiple use for the apartments that in the area.
Well, I guess my concern is that we've put a lot of attention into Auburn and DeQuinder in trying to, and the fact that people are building and creating a density there, and there's maybe an opportunity for more housing to go off on Auburn, that we don't dilute that, because people will shop and they will go up to Auburn. I'm sure there's a handful of folks here this evening that are going to say that same thing, and do we dilute what they're trying to do, those businesses there, by putting something that frankly wasn't, I don't think, envisioned in our master plan in an area that is largely residential in nature. And not only with the traffic counts, and the roads can accommodate, but the topography of Ryan there too. And I'm concerned, and I know Phil lives in that area, he can comment on that too. It's concern on safety, people trying to make a left-hand turn out of there, with the hill coming up, northbound traffic on Ryan, that potentially there's a safety issue there too. And again, the fact that this person has this property and has had it for some time, I'd be curious to see, how those land splits went, and that part of it could have sold off a portion of it to leave this, so maybe a sort of a self-inflicted issue, with the R1B there too. But anyone else have any comments or questions? All right, thank you. This is the only public hearing the Planning Commission will hold on this rezoning request. Your remarks will be entered into the record for Township Board evaluation. The Planning Commission is a recommending body. The Township Board will take into consideration these comments when making the final decision on the rezoning. At this time, anyone from the audience is welcome to ask any questions or make comments. Again, this isn't a debate, so what's going to happen is you come up, you talk to the board, we'll take your questions and comments down, and then we'll ask the petitioner to come back up and address what he can. Start here. Need your name and address. And I tell you, why don't you talk first and then sign on your way out. That way we'll get this moving a little quicker. Mr. Jerry took all our time. He bills by the hour, though. We get it. No.
Jim Cable, 47169 Frederick Road, Shelby. Just because there's a piece of land there, we have to develop it. It's a wooded lot. I don't know why we have to put anything in there, but that's even not why I came here. I'm going to read this because I'm not going to have enough time to get through all of it. First thing I have was the traffic issue. That area is backed up from 19 and a half mile all the way to 23 mile, 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock. And it's not because of the DeQuinder Road traffic that's going on there. It's been like that ever since they paved Hamlin Road. The next thing I got is you're talking, in Mr. Turner talked about it, is the area is so saturated with apartments right there. And I've heard this board say quite a few times that where we're going from R1 to R12, and it's consistent with the area that's there. Well, if we build another one, is it going to be consistent and consistent and consistent? How far out do we go where the whole township is now R12, wherever there's a vacant piece of property? I have a problem with that. I want to talk a little bit about the multifamily development. Just how that corner there, that whole actual mile radius, that's just more of it's going to lessen the single family home property value and the safety. I don't know if anybody has a concern about that, but I do. Let me give you some examples of that. Currently in that mile radius, and this gentleman said 4,000 apartments. Mine were about 2,500, 3,000. I came up with about 2,500. And there's about 8 or more complexes in that area alone. And that doesn't include duplexes, some multiple rental homes in that area. And being from a property management background in this area, and I mean Shelby Township, I've worked in property management. Each complex there generally has about an 80 to 90% occupancy all the time. Now these businesses, these apartment complexes, their owners would die for 90%. So 80 to 90% is about what they generally have. So that means per month, you've got 200 to 400 to 500 apartments that are available every month. So there's not the need for more housing in that area where everybody says we need more places for people to live. So that's a lot that's available every month. And to end this up, I want to talk a little bit about the crime rates in that area and what these apartments generate. Now, I've got information from the Shelby Police Department. In this mile area, the assaults are, in this month alone, from October to November, this month, there's been 8 assaults in that 1 mile radius compared to 3 in the rest of the township. There's been 5 auto thefts compared to 0 in the rest of the township. There's been 10 larcenies, and these are all in this mile area, and that doesn't include businesses. There's 20 in the rest of the township. That's including businesses. 4 larcenies from auto compared to 6 in the rest of the township. And 2 of those 6 were in another apartment complex located in another part of the city, township. There have been 10 other criminal arrests, 10 in that mile area, compared to 4 in the whole rest of the township. Just this month. I think that says it all. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, back. Oh. Which one? Actually, I think the woman in the back was first, but you all have a chance. Yeah.
I live down Auburn. Thanks for degrading Auburn Road area.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Nicole Summers, and I live at 3604 Eagle Creek Drive. My dad, William Summers, also resides at 3604 Eagle Creek Drive. And we have a bunch of people in the back here that all live at Eagle Creek. First of all, unfortunately, he bought that land 25 years ago, and he can't sell it. But we do not want commercial in that area. At DeQuinder and Utica, we have a gas station already. We have multiple dealerships. Then at Auburn and Ryan, we have a strip mall. The 7-Eleven there went under.
Ma'am, address the board.
Okay. We have another area, Auburn and DeQuinder, that is all strip. And a lot of those are vacant. We also have a strip at the end of Utica and Mound. If you cross over M59 at Mound Road and Dobry, there is the Walmart whole center. A lot of those are vacant. We moved to Shelby because we like the nature, the wooded areas. We have wildlife all through that property that is south, would that be southwest? Yes. The corner where at northeast of Ryan in Utica, that little area that butts up to the Eagle Creek condos is also very wooded and has a lot of wildlife. I know a lot of people don't care, but we do. It's the beauty of it. I can't imagine looking out my condo because it faces Utica Road and looking at a gas station or oil change or another liquor store. That's not that area. Everything we have is all within a mile of us already. And then you have all the commercial areas down M59. I think the apartments, when they built those, we we live in the area, and, you know, there might be some crime there. I'm retired from law enforcement, and I like our area. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. If you put a gas station there or a plaza, I would want to sell, and I'm sure a lot of our neighbors wouldn't be happy and want to sell. And it would probably bring our property value down. If anything, I hope it could be residential. And if it doesn't get there and he cannot sell it, that's unfortunate for him. But what happens when our home values went down in 2008 and everybody lost their homes? They either had to walk away for them or take a short sale. Unfortunately, if he can't afford the property, well, let Shelby buy it. I'd rather see us own it than a strip mall. And that's all I have to say.
Ma'am. I need your sign. I need you.
Good evening. I'm Pamela Holland, and I live at 3701 Eagle Creek Drive. Along with my cousin, I moved here 4 years ago. I'm a retired nurse from Lansing. Very, very peaceful, quiet place. And as the young woman said before, a mile, at least half a mile down the road is a Marathon convenience store. Around the corner at Ryan and Auburn is a Speedway with a convenience store. Down another probably mile and a half is a Hollywood grocery store. And then the Walmart. We have everything that we need. We don't need more traffic. I hate to see the woodlands go. I feed my squirrels every day. And I like the peace and quiet. And my window would face that, my bedroom window, and I really, really would not like to see a whole bunch of bright lights all through the night. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Robert Whiting, 3695 Eagle Creek. Like they brought up before, I think the sole purpose of this is for them to squeeze some more money out of their property. They said, it's really unfortunate, but they're going to gain money by selling this, and the only thing that's going to happen to us is we're going to lose. Our property values are going to go down. There's going to be people loitering there. These are 2-lane roads with no left turn lanes, no side curbs for you to pull over on. There's just not enough room for these businesses. We've been next to woods. It's really peaceful and quiet, like they said. This is just going to create more traffic. I just think that this entire purpose only benefits a very select few group of people, and it could only possibly harm everybody that's already there. So I bought my property with the intention that it was quiet and to increase my value, make some money on it, and I just don't see that happening if this passes. Excuse me. I don't think the type of people that would be attracted to apartments would be helpful to the area, and like it's been brought up, the concentration is already so large that, again, I think the only purpose is to squeeze some more money out of this at the expense of the people that are here. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Sir, yeah.
Hi there, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Dave Major, and 45701 Ryan Road. I am the house north of this property. The reason I would move from here is because of what we're talking about here tonight. The traffic is horrendous. The multiples, now we don't even know what the effect of this new piece is going to go on east and north of us. At 72 units that are going in over there. We don't even know how much traffic that's going to add. And my property values, if this goes on, I'm done. I'm stuck. I can't do anything with my place. You know, they came to me and said, you know, maybe we could make a parcel out of this. They offered me a ridiculous offer of $125,000 for my property and a house, an acre of property. It's an insult, you know, but that's beside the point. It's the whole area around there, like a lot of people have voiced here. They own their property, the condos, people have an investment in it, a Apartment people don't. And it's an ebb and flow with the economy. When the economy goes sour, they'll fill those apartments. They don't care if a person is packing heat. They don't care who moves in there as long as they fill them. And that's what we've experienced over the 40 years we lived there. When the economy comes and goes, we pay the price. They just caught a murderer down the street in a lady's house, a neighbor of ours, you know. He didn't come from there. He came from Warren, which is another city that's fallen apart just because of the same situation. It's all multiples. It's all rental property. People are coming from the inner city or wherever, and we pay the price. So not to mention, I don't know where they got this idea about not having wetlands in that area. That whole area around me is flowing with wetlands. There's streams, underground streams. There's wetlands behind my house, the property next to my house. So that, to me, oil and water don't mix. You start putting gas and oil on the corner like that, you're going to have problems, you know. So I'm against it totally. I know they have to make money on their property. If they want to put medical or something like that, that was proposed by Mr. Wynn a few years ago when a guy came forth. And I'm not opposed to that. You know, it's a 9 to 5 kind of thing. People are gone. This is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We don't need that.
Okay.
So I appreciate it.
Sure. So is that your house with a big cross in front of it?
No, that's my neighbor
That's
next
your
door. I have the Jesus
Just to show
logo
you,
in the front.
we do drive this. We live in the township. We do drive around it. So.
But the traffic is horrible.
Okay. Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Mary Morgan. I live at 3528 Eagle Creek Drive. Not to reiterate what the rest of my neighbors had mentioned, but it's very true. Within a mile of where this proposed site or proposed new build is going to go, we've got 2 gas stations. We have at least 3 different convenience stores. So, Mr. Moffett, to your point in your question before of what studies have been done to show that some sort of need is not being met, that this company or this group is looking to meet. I did notice that he did not answer the question of what goods and services would they provide that are not being provided within a reasonable distance from that particular location. And Mr. Turner, to your point, it is off the beaten path. If you take a look at, I know this is not our county, so I apologize, but if you take a look at Avon and John R., there's one corner that is commercial, but the other corner, the northwest corner, they had a commercial property there, very old. They tore it down, built something new. Guess what? That thing has not sold. It's not been leased. They can't do anything with it. It is considered off the beaten path, and it's next to another commercial area, and yet they still can't do anything. So what leads me to believe that this one off the beaten path is going to be any different? We'll just have a new looking commercial building that doesn't have anybody in it. In addition to that, I'd also like to make a note to the board and to some folks sitting over here that I am a millennial. I don't want an apartment. I want my own home. I like the quiet. I like the nature. I've saved at least 10 different baby turtles in the neighborhood in the 10 years that I've been there, just by moving them off the sidewalk, moving them off the street. I know that that type of environment will go away or start to disappear with the building of a new commercial piece of property. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. You could sign in, please. Anyone else? Good, sir.
Good evening. My name is Paul Puglia. I live at 3587 Eagle Creek Drive. In the condos there on West Utica Road in Ryan. I worked at Parkdale Pharmaceuticals at Parkdale Road for 25 years, and the traffic on Ryan is just totally horrendous, and I deal with it every day. So just because it's vacant property, why can't they just keep it vacant or residential? Like everybody else said at Eagle Creek, we enjoy our peace and quiet, our animals. We get fox back there. I saw 4 buck there last year in our backyard, and ducks and the geese, and it's just beautiful. That's why we bought the place. We lived in the apartments across the street before we bought that. When we saw that going up, we thought, wow, that'd be a real nice place to buy. And I'm a first home buyer when we bought that. And I really hate to leave there if I have to, but if I see commercial go up on Ryan, I will not shop or do any of the business in those commercial places that they own. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay.
In Eagle Creek.
Now do it again.
Ann Cook, 3707
There you
Eagle
go.
Creek.
Thank you.
And all the people here have made all the points I had written down. One of the councilmen made a point that I thought was a very good point, that 27 acres on the southwest corner, now up for sale. They get commercial, they get apartments. What's 27 acres going to say? He got it, we get it. So then that whole corner is going to be apartments and more commercial, more vacant commercial. Who knows? A McDonald's, strip malls, a big mall. So if he sets a precedent, then we're going to have a precedent for the 27 acres. So I think that's a big thing there. If you knew every corner was already taken, there's still 27 acres there that's open for some kind of rezoning. So that would be my big concern. So I hope you take that into consideration. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Rochelle Connor, 3701 Eagle Creek. I've lived there probably 9 years now, and you people don't live there, so you don't know what we have and what we enjoy. But it is a complete oasis. I can get in my car and I can make a right turn on Ryan Road and go down just underneath the viaduct for 59, make a left, and in 2 minutes I can be at the Roadhouse, the gym, the theater, Walmart, the nail place, whatever. We got 10 gas pumps up on Auburn Road in Ryan with a convenience store where I stop and buy milk from time to time. We have a Hollywood shopping store. We've got a Marathon on the corner. I enjoy the fact that when I go home, I'm not looking at a bunch of stuff. It's like this oasis in the middle of Central Park or something. And I just can't see what we need with a gas station that's going to attract people and young people from across the street. I've lived here long enough to know what Spring Hill used to look like when it was brand new. And it's terrible now. They don't take care of it. Why can't you guys buy that 2.9 acres and put a little park in there for the people that walk up and down Ryan Road? Like they did in Rochester Hills over there between the old school and on that south side of the road, there's some kind of little park there. Why can't you do something like that? I mean, there is fox, deer, ducks, geese, every kind of thing anybody would ever want to feel pleasant and just in love with the place you live. And I don't want to see that changed. That's the beauty of it. It's an oasis in the middle of the city. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else? Going once, twice? Okay, back to the board. Mr. Nguyen, your thoughts?
Well, a couple comments, Mr. Chairman. I think the starting point is, this exceeds what our expectations were in the master plan, but also that I don't think single family is a practical option on there either. The only, given the width of that, the depth of that property, the only practical way you could put single family there was to split lots off with each home having separate access to Ryan Road, which isn't a desirable pattern. Having said that, I think this plan's proposal is a bit more aggressive than we ever anticipated, and some multiple in that area might be a reasonable option. You have the Eagle Creek, which is a lower scale that might be more attractive at that sort of density and that sort of product than perhaps across the street, which is a little more aggressive in terms of density. Commercial was never really contemplated here. Having said all that, I certainly would be open to listening to some refinement of this proposal that takes into account the comments that you made and the comments that the residents made as well, and revisit that. I recall a public hearing about a year ago where Mr. Ruggieri was here, where we proposed that project at 21 and Shaner, and there was a pretty substantial objection from the neighborhood. At the end of the day, we were able to find some compromise. I'm open to that idea, recognizing there may not be a compromise position as well, but I would be open to listening to other suggestions and seeing if this proposal could be modified in a way that's compatible with the needs of the neighborhood. But as it's presented, it really isn't.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Nguyen. Mr. Ruggieri? I think we did address a lot of what in their prior conversation that the folks from the public had commented on, but safety, the traffic, saturation of apartments. I think you acquiesced a bit to that maybe there is another housing option there. What about the nuisance that this would create in this neighborhood into the development?
Yeah, I don't think nuisance is an issue. The type of lighting systems they have today, and I come across this multiple occasions. Right now, I'm doing a CarMax on Hall Road in Sterling Heights, and that was a big factor. They have light systems now that just focus on that particular parcel of land, and the lights reflect themselves directly on the parcel, and they do not expand beyond the parcel. So that's not a problem. Hours of operation, it's not a 24-hour operation. We certainly wouldn't want that in that area. One gentleman brought that up. So I think that can be contained as to the hours of operation. We have a traffic study for a reason, and I want to point out that we do not own the property.
I made them talk to me.
Yeah, I just want to point out to a few of the people, we don't own the property. We're doing our due diligence. The property is owned by Mr. Baylock. We are simply proposing some uses of the property, and we're taking notes today about all the concerns, and we're trying to find a product that will work there. But we've done a lot of work on this site, and I can assure you that that property has no wetlands. And tomorrow, the seller could go down and mow all that down. So no matter what comes in here, he could tear it down, and he can do whatever he wants. You have a significant distance from Eagle Creek to this property. There's a natural buffer that's there already, plus the landscaping that we propose. It'll have, in my estimation, have zero impact on Eagle Creek. I know Eagle Creek very well. I'm one of the original developers of Eagle Creek, and I also was a zoning attorney, and I also lost a fortune on that development when the economy collapsed. But that property was R1B at one time, and now it's multiple. So the story keeps going on and on. You got R1B, somebody else wants to come in. No, we don't want R1B, but it gets changed, and the people take up with that property, and it continues on and on. It's just the way development goes on. We're not happy that we have nice wildlife and we have nice oasis in our areas, as some of the people mentioned. But if that were the case,
most of their comments were really directed at us. But I would like your comment on this one. The abundance right now of their access to commercial goods, and now what impact would that have on you putting this here on those other areas?
well, we've explored cannibalization. Okay, we've explored saturation. Well, obviously, my clients are putting more apartments in because there's a need for it. I'm in the apartment business as well, and I believe that these apartments probably are closer to 90-95%, if not 100. They get utilized. There are multiple choices for residents to go to, but in a retail business, convenience is everything. A few people might say, hey, I'll go 2 miles to go buy my milk or my bread or my cigarettes or my lottery ticket or what have you. That's true. Some may have a preferred place to go, but a lot of people like convenience, just like fast food. They like to get in and out and they want it nearby. Okay.
So from a township's perspective, so it's more compelling. Our interest is more compelling that the apartment for the people in Eagle Creek or the apartment have a quicker access to their lotto tickets or their
food,
milk or goods or whatever it is, as opposed to what impact that may have on operating stores in areas that we've already.
Well, I'm trying to bring development to Shelby Township.
Yeah, but but what you wanted to bring is a higher dense use to an area that we've for as long as, for a long period of time, was a low dense use. And so what's the compelling interest for us to create a higher density in that
Well,
area?
first of all, you're going to get a development there that makes sense. Second of all, you're going to get immediate tax base, okay? And third, you are providing convenience to the area. And it's been supported by the traffic study and the feasibility studies that they have gone through. That area warrants it and supports it. Why would they waste their time bothering with this if it didn't make sense, and why would it be an attraction for people to operate this site unless it had that possibility? Yeah. They're not going to build this to sit there and be vacant.
No, I don't think it would be.
No,
but
it's not going to be.
What impact is it going to have on the party store that's up at Auburn and Ryan, and then the Speedway gas station, or already there was a party store on the other side on the other corner, the southeast corner.
Well, let's take Rite Aid and CVS and Walgreens. They're kitty corner from one another. Go look on Hayes and 24 Mile Road. You got Rite Aid in the southeast corner. You got CVS in the northeast corner. I mean, it's all over.
Yeah, but this isn't Hazen. This isn't.
Well, how about this? We got Kroger coming up on 26 Mile Road. Now you got Myers across the street. You got Vincent Joe's on 25. Talk about saturation. What is that supposed to mean?
Well, those are areas that have been designed for those purposes.
Well, they got residents all around them. I did Myers in Washington Township. The people were screaming. I mean, literally screaming. And guess what? It got built, and guess what today? Those people service and patronize Myers, okay? It's just a fact.
All right. Any other questions from the board? All right, thank you, Mr. Ruggieri.
And I will consider exploring other alternatives because I do appreciate
Thank you, Mr. Ruggieri.
the residents coming out here.
All right. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Our decision on this proposed use must be based on the following: the practicality of this rezoning request and the effect on the surrounding area, the owner's right to use his land, and do current growth and development patterns warrant this rezoning, and is this proposed rezoning in accordance with the master plan? We may recommend approval, we may disapprove, or we could table this to evaluate it further. This time, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Turner.
I move to postpone rezoning petition number 10-16 for West Utica Ryan Properties, parcel number 230731426009, to be rezoned from R1B single-family residential to R12 multiple-family low-rise and C2 linear retail, to give the owner an opportunity to consider a revised application consolidating this zoning to a single residential category.
Support.
Okay, moved by Turner, support by DeSico. Are there any questions on the motion? Hearing none. Commissioner Turner?
Yes.
Commissioner DeSico?
Yes.
Commissioner Dalu?
Yes.
Commissioner Casale?
Yes.
Commissioner Wozniak?
Yes.
Commissioner Pone?
No.
And the chair votes no as well. So motion is tabled.
Hey, thank you.
Next item is planning director's report.
We didn't have anything else to add to the agenda tonight, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. There's an opportunity from, business from the floor, if anyone has any additional comments. Seeing none. Until the petitioner brings it back, requested to be back before. And you'll be noticed, everyone will be noticed, same area. Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Your support? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we're adjourned.